Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another workshop. This one is titled The Best Possible Self. Now, this one, friends, is part of our previous series, which was titled Beyond Your Career Struggles. And my intention here is to come to you with techniques underneath this series so that I help you take on a journey where you would find a way out of your career struggles, as the name suggests, helping you move beyond your career struggles. If you find yourself something like this, kind of overwhelmed with the way your career right now is moving into, or like this, where you find yourself constantly in a flux, as if you're stuck in your career, as if you are just looking for a way out, and but you just do not know how to find one. And you're desperately looking for clarity and direction. So in our session today, I'm going to help you with a simple technique, and this one is called the best possible self technique. Now, what really this means is if you find yourself struggling in your career, one of the ways that you could gain clarity and direction is through this technique. Best possible self is basically an idea or an image of a potential future version of our own self. Here's what we're going to do is we will be putting ourselves and our mind, priming ourselves to somewhere in future. If you remember, if you have ever been to interviews where at a certain level, a very common HR question that's asked in most of the interviews is, how do you see yourself 5 years down the line or 7 years down the line? Basically, the question itself is kind of asking you to help the interviewer answer them how you perceive yourself. And people who are very clear on how they uh, kind of have a idea or a vision of how where they are moving ahead in career, what sort of a future they would want for themselves, are more in a comfortable space to answer that question vis-a-vis those who really have no clue. And this technique, the best possible self, here's what I'm going to teach you today, is a 4-step method. It requires a bit of a reflection. So for this, I would also want you to adapt an approach where you don't do it all at once. Rather, pause the video, think through it, come back to it as and when you need, and then create this best possible self. In a way, we are priming ourselves or our idea of our future self very much in regards to our work here, very, very specific to work, so that we build or create a plan that's more in align to our career goals. We can do this best possible self on any sphere of our life, but right now here we are very specific to the work part. So let's get going and let's learn how to do this. You can pause the video here as we begin to do the work. Grab a pen and a paper as you need to reflect and answer some questions. And then we begin. So first step here, when we are working on identifying our best possible work self. So you see this one is in inverted, it's highlighted and it's in inverted commas, because we are trying our attempt here through this particular exercise or this particular technique is to identify our best possible self, but in respect to our work. You can actually do this for your priming your mind for your future in regards to your relationship as well or to other areas. But for now, we are here looking to identify our best possible self in regards to our work. So what you need to do now is set a timer or a stopwatch for 10 minutes. You can pause the video here, or once you listen to my instruction, then pause the video and get a timer or a stopwatch and set it for 10 minutes. During this 10 minutes of time, or maybe 15 minutes, think about your best possible work self and write it all down on the paper or the book you have. This best possible work self is where you're imagining yourself in a job, that a place where you love and which is very, very aligned to your workplace. It's a workplace that inspires and supports you. You feel very energized, very engaged while you are at work. You know you're very good at what you do, and your work feels meaningful and fulfilling. So when you're writing this down, you don't have to worry about grammar or punctuation. All you need to do is focus on writing about all your thoughts and emotions expressively. Now, friends, here, let me make it more simple. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you here is to imagine a future where it's your best possible work self. It's your favorite job that you have landed in. It's your favorite workplace. It's somewhere in your mind, the kind of work you love to do. It's something that inspires and supports you. And when you are in that work, you feel very, very energized and engaged. So you have to now run your imagination and let anything that comes to your mind, you put that down on the paper that you have before you. Because you're just taking the first step. So do not censor anything that comes to you. This step is basically helping you in one way understanding what really uh, is the work, or helping you identify the passion you have for a certain type of work. So go ahead, pause this video and think your best possible work self. Think about the job that you always wanted to be in. Do you imagine yourself like a leader on a CEO chair, or like a designer with all the accolades, or like if you have somebody in your mind who you consider as your role model, whatever it is, just imagine that workspace, that job, that role where you feel that you are just the best in it. And as you're imagining, keep writing, and keep writing. Once you're done with that, now you need to evoke your possible self, which is with what you've written, you now have a good idea, all the details that your mind has thrown up. You now have a little bit of an idea of exactly what you wanted. So you could do the step 2 immediately, or if you feel you need some kind of a break, pause this video here, or in fact, you can even close it and come back to it the next day, where you would go back, read what you just did in the step 1, and then go forward with step 2, where you're evoking your possible self. In this, when you have your complete description of your best possible work self in mind, we now are going to bring it to life. And with that, we will answer some questions. Because even though we have now created a future self, we're adding a little bit more details to that, so that it gives you not just clarity, but even your future focus and passion. So let's get going. These are some of the simple questions that you can answer. So you have the response to the first question, where you had imagined your best workspace, the work you love, the passion and everything. You have your job title, the role. Now you have to give more details to that. So, for example, if you had imagined yourself, I'm just giving an example to help you. You can pick up whatever you need. So let's say you have imagined yourself as a designer, a fashion designer, like a Sabyasachi, and like you're designing bridal wear and you're quite successful. Your brands are in the market. You're the go-to person for the elite group, and you're quite successful, and you have a huge fashion house, and your name is everywhere. So all that you've written in the first step, now what you need to do is you're adding here some bit of a more details to it. So here, the first question is, what are you doing? With my example of Sabyasachi, I would say I am creating the blueprint or designer, or I'm designing for the Ambani wedding, or I could be designing for some Bollywood diva or a supermodel, and I'm designing their wedding attire, or a designer sari, or a fusion, or for the Paris high fashion uh, upcoming high fashion event, I may be designing something. So like that, keeping your first answer in mind, answer these rest of these questions. Write in detail, what are you doing? Where are you working? You can write about your office space, how it looks like, what are you wearing, the environment, bit of going to the specifics. What's the atmosphere like? Who are you working with? So this who are you working with basically helping you understand, do you like to love to work with people, or you are working alone? All the answers are correct. There's no right or wrong here. It's about finding out your best possible work self. So who are you working with? What are your relationships like professionally with your colleagues, co-workers, or your team? What do you find fulfilling about your work? This is a very important question. So this will give you a lot of insights of what really gives you this sense of contentment and fulfillment about your work. And this is a this very question may perhaps even give you insights about what's your passion in life, or what's your purpose. Most of us do struggle with such questions we have, and we often wonder when we are in our job, is this what I want to do? So this question can actually give you a lot of insights. And then, what is the thing that is most different from your current job? So think through, don't be in a hurry, reflect, and answer these questions. Once you're done with this, now you have moved to the third step, which is where you can, now you have to answer. Now here, this is the part where you're creating a plan. So your next step is basically you're drawing a plan. So you first had a vivid imagination of your possible work self, and then you gave a lot of details to it. Now, as third steps, you are moving towards a plan. So again, what can you do to start to move towards this possible self? This question will help you understand to what extent in the present time you're working towards it, and maybe even what are the gaps? Are you really doing what you're supposed to do or not? This is something very important that you would find answers to when you answer this question. And what are some realistic actions you could take? So the actions you're taking now, are they contributing? If not, what are some realistic actions you could take? So again, pause this video here, make a note of these questions and answer them with a lot of reflection. Sit down and make sure you are in a calm state of mind and you answer these questions. Once you're done with the step 3, we now move towards step 4, which is the final step of this technique. This particular final step helps us understand, while we have so much data now with us, we know what's our best possible work self, we know each and every detail of it. We also have a future plan of all the actions we need to take. This final step is basically helping you understand not just what your passion or focus lies in, but which aspects are very important to you. So in a way, they will help you understand your work values. And finally, if you could time travel to future and ask your best possible work self one question, what would this question be? So I would want you here to, now that you've imagined your best possible work self, so you have this person in your mind, your future self, maybe 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line. Imagine by pausing this video here and sitting right next to that person. This is your present you asking the future you. What would be that one question you want to ask? Go ahead and ask, and you'll be surprised by the response you'll get. This is something you have to experience, and we each one of us have our own individual experiences, but I'm sure you will have a lot of clarity and a direction as you finish this part of this technique. Finally, you will reach a point where now you not only have a plan giving you clarity and direction, it is helping you move towards that future self that you always wanted to. So you've envisioned it, you're there. And with this technique, which is quite simple, but little engaging because it is a bit time consuming as well. But if you divide this into one or two steps and do it not at all in one go, rather do the first and second part on a single day, then come back to it doing the third and the fourth part, I'm sure by that time you would have moved away from a person who's currently struggling, feeling I'm stuck in my career, I do not know where I'm going, kind of overwhelmed with all kinds of sort of thoughts in your head, to a person who's very clear, just like these professionals before you, clear, confident, with clarity and conviction. You're moving ahead. So, so friends, I wish you good luck. Go ahead and try this technique and connect back with me if you want to learn more about how can you take your career to the next level. Thank you.